Okay, I think everybody's up. Can everybody hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Nice. Super duper awesome. Okay, love it, guys. So, first of all, thank you for you guys for joining us. Friday evenings, Friday mornings, sensitive times, but we are here together for the community. And thanks to the community for joining us and asking us all the tough questions. I think we are having a blast of a time. We'll get going with the panel discussion. Also, before we start, we had a word with Tristan. His internet went down, but we will have their recording soon in the inboxes. Lovely. With that note, first and foremost, quick introductions. I think it is very important in the age of AI agents to introduce ourselves as humans. So, what I would love to have from our lovely panel is name, because the font is too small for some people to read on the screen. Where have you been? Physically, career, life, everything is cool. And one quirky hobby. It has to be quirky, odd. People would not know. Okay, we'll start with people on my screen. Care is first on my screen. Care, please.
Thanks, Robin. Hi, all. I'm Keir Bowden. I'm from the UK, better known in the community as Bob Buzzard. I spent the best part of 17 years working for a Salesforce partner, and I've been an independent consultant for the last year or so. In terms of quirky hobby, I think maybe it's quirky, maybe it's sad, but I love watching low-budget creature features, things like Sharknado, Lava Lantula, Mega Shark versus Crocosaurus. So if it's got fake creatures in it and it's 2 stars or less than IMDb, then count me in.
Sharknado is a favorite of mine. Side note. Okay, we have Piyusha up next.
Hello everyone, I'm Piyusha Pelania. I am based in Vadodara, India. I am actually a sales and marketing person turned a Salesforce consultant, now a solution architect. I used to work with a Salesforce partner until last year, and now I'm running my own tiny Salesforce consultancy. And a quirky habit of mine, I actually love flying smaller planes. So Cessnas or anything around that is something which I like.
Nice. Pilot. Okay, salute. Super. Next we have Christina.
Hi everyone, I'm Christina Nava. I live in Texas in the US. I currently am the director of Salesforce strategy for a software company called Gaggle, but in the past I have been software consultant, Salesforce consultant. I have run the gamut. If you want to get bored, read my LinkedIn. There's a lot on there. As for a quirky hobby, I'm actually a very boring person. So the only two I can maybe think of is one, I like to play World of Warcraft. I used to be really into it until work got bigger. But I don't know if anyone knows this, but when you reach a certain age, gardening becomes just this thing. Like all of a sudden I woke up one day and I'm like, I need to go buy plants. And apparently that's what I'm into now.
It is very interesting you mentioned this thing about age and gardening. I think people like just like as if they touch grass, like people just take it like seriously.
That and watching birds. You realize you've kind of hit that milestone when you're like, ooh, what birds are outside right now?
Yeah. Interesting. Lovely. Okay. Next we have Carmel. Yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carmel. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for about 11 years, working as a Salesforce administrator, both in-house and as a consultant. And right now, I'm currently a consultant. I've worked in a variety of industries. I started out in nonprofits to financial services, associations, SaaS companies. So I've also run a full spectrum in terms of delivering solutions, and I am based in the Washington, D.C. area in the U.S. My quirky hobby, I don't know that sewing is a quirky hobby. I find it something that I don't know. I like to make my own clothes. I don't make clothes for everybody else, but it's just relaxing to me and very old fashioned, and I'm totally okay. Same with Christina. Look, I like the grandma hobbies, just very relaxing and to myself. I do not need to go outside. I don't need to touch grass. Ew.
Love it, Carmel. But when you say you make your own clothes, is it like shirts, t-shirts, jackets, sweaters, pullovers, knitting, or like, I don't know.
No, it's usually a lot of dresses. I don't really like shirts because that requires taking off two items of clothing, whereas a dress is just the one item of clothing. So I would highly recommend to really any adult, either a dress or a jumpsuit because there's only one thing and that's it. There's not multiple items that you need to put on, which I'm super lazy about clothing. Like I want one and done.
I love it, like optimization max. Nice. Okay, super. Then we have Abhinav with us.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Abhinav. I'm based out in Jaipur in India. And quickie hobby, I don't know. I heard about World of Warcraft. I have played it long back, but my history goes from tech, and I like video games a lot. And my mom used to make my fun. Now my wife and lately my daughter also like you are 45 plus and you're still playing video games. So that I enjoy like Oculus, even board games like Catan. If I don't know if anybody of you play that, I love Catan a lot. So yeah, that's it.
Nice. Yeah, there is like, I don't know, video games are not a quirky hobby. I'm into video games. I don't play them anymore, but I watch videos. And like, people are like, dude, like you don't even play them. Like, what are these videos all about? I'm like, yeah, don't judge me. Nice. Okay. Super awesome. Thanks for the folks for being sporty and sharing your quirky hobbies. Let's start with the panel and the tough questions. So first and foremost, a quick question to Care. So, Care, everyone is asking on this session in the chat and outside the rooms as well. Will AI replace testers? What do you think? And I'll get to the next one after that.
Okay, I think that's a great question. I don't think it's specific to testing, quality assurance, Salesforce technology. I think everybody everywhere is asking at the moment, will AI take my job? I don't think it will. I don't think AI will replace testers, but I think the role of tester, like a lot of other roles, is going to change once AI becomes part of the standard tool set. So the roles, generally speaking, with AI move from execution to curation. So instead of writing and running scripts, testers will shape and guide the AI agents that write and execute those tests on their behalf. So AI is great at coming up with tests. If you've got a limitless budget, it'll be a limitless amount of tests. It'll exhaustively follow user journeys, every conceivable path, can generate all possible combinations of input data. And like Terminator, it never gives up. It never gets bored. No matter how many times you ask it to rerun that test suite, it will do it, and it will do it gladly. However, QA isn't and has never been about volume. It's about knowing what's important to test, knowing where the risks lie, knowing what correct looks like, what good looks like. And that's where humans bring value. The one thing I would add is I think humans are also needed for negative testing. I think AI isn't very good at trying to break systems. It wants to be positive. It wants to follow rules. And humans are really good at not being positive and not following rules, which is why we can be good at creating those QA scripts as well.
I think that's a great answer. And what I really loved and what I took, maybe I'll print it on my t-shirt next time. It's about quality and not quantity. And AI is all about quantity and some quality here and there. But okay, maybe I'll extend that question, Care, and we'll share the question with the other speakers as well. Which parts of the QA lifecycle you feel will be automated, and which part will stay central to the human?
I think this kind of goes back, I think, to Rob's talk earlier on, that the AI is really good at automating the kind of the boring, the rote, those kind of things. So it'll I think initially it'll look very much like existing test automation does. We'll just have to do a lot less writing things out in great detail, writing scripts in great detail. It'll be able to help figure it out itself out a bit more. But I would say, rather than just looking at the aspects of the existing life cycle that can be automated, we should also be looking, what is AI bringing that we don't currently have, and how can we make use of that? So something I'm really interested in is digital twins. So if you haven't come across these before, a digital twin is like a virtual model of an individual, of a human. So their behavior, their preferences, their experiences. And the digital twin simulates how that individual will react in particular scenarios. So from a testing point of view, you can say, give me a busy sales rep, give me a new admin, give me an angry customer, and run these tests. And I think AI then allows us to execute persona-based testing at scale, which we haven't really been able to do because we haven't got that many people that we've been able to throw in there as well. So I think it's important not to get too focused on what can we change about the current life cycle, but also looking at what can we add? What have we never had the capability to do before, and now we can.
Nice. I think I love that angle, and I think earlier Vernon also highlighted the concept of a virtual employee. Very interesting. And I think this whole wave of OpenClaw has been going on over my Twitter feed. Have you guys heard about OpenClaw? Any thoughts from you guys? People tried it, people have not tried it. They're like pissed off with this thing on the internet. What do you guys say?
I've read a lot about it and I've heard a lot about it. I haven't actually used it myself. I still think it's very courageous to give your credentials to any AI tool at the moment with real data. That's a step too far for me.
Interesting. Have Christina, Carmen, or Fuchsia heard about it? Used it? Been adventurous? Not much.
I will
No,
say
I haven't heard about
trust
that.
with- yeah, my trust with AI is not very high.
Same, same. I think that AI can bring a lot of value, but I like to remember AI is still in its infancy if we're thinking about it like growth as a human. So we're not really past 2 years old. And for those who know milestones for human children, they don't do a lot at 2 years old, right? And so it's still about um, just setting the right expectations of what can AI do? What do we need it to do? Yes, it can help make us efficient, but I'm with Kier. Like you gave your credentials to an AI system, your somebody's security team is like throwing a fit right now.
Hmm. Correct.
I tend to
100%.
only use AI for things that I can immediately verify, like help me
Mhm.
reword this, help me write this, clean up this Excel spreadsheet for me, because you just can't trust it right now.
Interesting point. I'll borrow that and extend that to Abhinav. Abhinav, for teams with limited budgets and lean headcount, I think that came up as a theme in the chat as well. What should they first adopt? Is it about better test strategies, tools, automation foundations, AI assistant, or like full-blown agents? What do you think?
I think as we go back also, like even in any project, we used to prioritize use cases or critical flows first. Like even if I'm having less budget or more budget, like which deserves like full E2E kind of situation where I will test each and every bit of it. And then some are like, let's say, admin UIs, which are not end customer facing, which are not transactional in nature. So prioritization of what is really important for business probably is best if you have less budget, and then finding how much muscle, how much weight you can pull off and putting it there in any way what makes sense, like more unit tests maybe. Like even in Salesforce, if we talk about, if there is a very critical business flow where you can say 70-80% of your customers are hitting it on daily basis, it probably deserves anything and everything. Rest can probably wait.
Interesting, Abhinav. I'll just extend that question, and maybe for CEOs, CIOs, CTOs who are listening this or will listen this in the future, right? What is the smartest path of implementing AI as part of their process without creating chaos? I think trust and risk come a whole lot when people talk about AI. So, what do you think? What have you seen? And then we'll take this question and roam it around the room as well.
No, I missed the last bit. What was the ask?
So the ask is that, maybe for a senior leader, a CIO or CTO, right? What is the smartest way to implement AI or adopt AI without creating a whole lot of chaos?
Okay. I think one thing which I liked in Vernon's talk is not everything is really meant to be on AI for sure. And that's, I think, an excitement and FOMO is the right word, that people do want to get somehow and anyhow everything and anything on AI, which probably they have to put guardrails on themselves before they put guardrails on AI. That am I really excited or am I in FOMO before it's making sense? And then I will say one use case at a time, test it properly. And now there are a lot of ways, like you can put evals on your agents and things that will go very geekish in nature, but probably identifying one or two key use cases, pilot them, test them, see if your customer really likes it or they just want a normal automation and working software. So probably that, I think, is the first step.
I think that's a very well balanced answer. Carmel, Christina, Piyusha, Care, what do you guys think? How should people go about it?
I think for me, the very first thing I would do is make sure they understand what AI means and what it can and can't do. There is a lot of confusion. There's a lot of, oh, it's another person. And you really have to educate people into what it is actually doing. And once you kind of break through that misconception, I think that is when your project will have a chance to succeed.
That's a very strong point. Thank you, Christina. Piyusha, Care, Carmel, what do you guys think?
I will say that, now people are hearing AI and they're like, oh yeah, we can actually automate a lot of the processes. We can use it to make everything efficient. But I feel like people are writing codes with AI, very normal, but we need to consider it very seriously, like who owns the accountability if anything goes wrong. I believe that having like proper checks and balances as to a human owning the correctness of what AI is generating is a good way to move forward.
Yeah, I think very interesting point, Piyusha. Very true. Care and Carmel have similar thoughts or different thoughts?
I think I'd be inclined to advise anyone to identify what constitutes a good return on investment before they start, because so many of these projects that I see and I read about are perceived to be a success because everyone felt they were going a lot faster, and when you actually dig into it, they're really not. It's not making that much of a difference. It's sometimes just fun to play with. So I'd make sure that you know what you're trying to achieve and how you can measure if you've actually achieved that.
Makes sense. I think I really love that point of an ROI. Classics never change. Like it's one of those building blocks. Like you just think about it before jumping into a swimming pool. That okay? Carmen has similar or new thoughts for us.
Oh, I don't have any new thoughts. I think everything has been really well said. I too am skeptic of AI, not that it can't be helpful, but I think again, it's just about those boundaries putting in place, right? Even with Salesforce, we say garbage in, garbage out. And so until an entire company is, centered around the idea that what we're trying to do is for the best and we're going to put forth the best, we're going to be asking it intelligent questions. And what does an intelligent question look like, right? And just making sure that those expectations are well set so that if you do get to the end of an AI project and it's there, people are not then going to come back to that ROI point and say, oh, this didn't do anything for me. And it could be that the expectation of what it could do was incorrectly set. And so now people devalue what it can do, it can fizzle out. And so it's just everything else has been so well said. So I agree with its entire panel.
I think what I'm taking away from what Carmen said for sure is the skepticism. So as QAs, we are eternal skeptics. So that is what I think we should continue to be. But then just pushing it forward in the same area, right? A quick question to Christina. I think Christina would have seen a lot of implementations in their career. There is like a sneaky question. So why do you think QA gets left behind in Salesforce implementations, and how do we bring it to the front again?
So that's a really good question. I think that QA often gets left behind for a couple of really predictable reasons. First of all, people see it as a phase instead of a discipline. It's something you have to get through. So teams get so bogged down in the building and prioritizing and building the features and getting the demos ready. And so you kind of get to the end of the project and you have this shorter timeline and you're like, oh, we still need to test. So at that point, your QA becomes reactive instead of strategic. There's also this misconception that Salesforce is low code, therefore it's low risk. And that's just not true. You're still dealing with your complex data models, all of your integrations, automations, including declarative and programmatic, and all of your user permissions. So that surface simplicity, because Salesforce can look very simple on the surface, it hides a lot of that downstream risk. And so QA is often underscoped in the beginning of that. And lastly, ownership is unclear. In a lot of orgs, QA is either siloed or it's everyone's responsibility, which in practice means that it's no one's priority. And if everyone owns it, no one owns it. And that's one of the really big things, that you have to have someone owning that. So to improve it, we have to keep things practical. QA needs to show up early in the project, not at the end when everything's already built, but when we're defining requirements and designing those solutions in the beginning. Just doing that catches a lot of those issues before they turn into the bigger problems. And it also helps to treat testing not like a one-time step. So the teams that do the testing and then do it well, they reuse what they've already tested. They build consistency into how they validate things, and they don't start from scratch every time. It's something they do every time. It's repeatable. They know what they're doing. And then, speaking to my point before, someone just has to own it. Whether it's a dedicated QA or clearer accountability, you look at that RACI chart, quality doesn't happen by accident. If no one's responsible for it, it's always going to slip up. So at the end of the day, it's not about slowing the process down, which is a common misconception that people have. It's about avoiding the cleanup later, which is what actually costs you the time.
Wow, that is very well said. I think very strong points. Love that answer, Christina. Also, like another T-shirt quote, maybe I think I need to buy some T-shirts. Quality does not happen by accident. You have to purposefully do it. And then Carmel did some very interesting signals in the middle. I think you really have to prioritize it from both a project perspective, financial, economical, and all the other resources perspective as well. But just extending those questions, I think, with the superpowers of implementations of Care, Piyusha, Abhinav, and Carmel, you guys have seen many, many implementations. Why do you guys think QA gets left behind? And what is the best way to get it in the front again?
To piggyback off of what Christina said, the idea of ownership, right? That if everyone owns it, no one owns it. The things that I've found work best is whoever that BA is or whoever's writing out those requirements, they are really that first person to own QAing and saying, here's how we expect to test this upcoming feature, right? We don't have to expect that whoever is configuring is going to be thinking about it, but it helps give them some introductory framework of whatever you choose to build to solve this problem. I can now use what has been given to test that feature, right? They can test it as if they are the end user so that they become that first checkpoint to be like, oh, actually what I built is not going to solve this problem, right? Like the end user is not going to enjoy that experience. And so now they can go back and rework that before they give it to the next person to say, hey, this is ready for your eyes, for you to go through and test. And I think that that's a really good start, that whoever's that BA or whoever's writing those configuration requirements, they can start saying, we anticipate testing it this way. So again, throughout that process, if things change, someone can come in and say, hey, here are more details of what that looks like so that you get better expectations in the end.
I love this fact. And, customer zero is like a widely used term. I love Carmel's idea of a tester zero. That, the person who's writing that spec, that acceptance criteria, the one who's looking at it first should be the first tester. Like, why should everything be done by the last QA on the last day and the last hour? That's interesting. Okay. Abhinav, Piyush, and Care have more thoughts on that note.
I actually would like to say that Christina and Carmel actually have added some really amazing points to it. And I really like Carmel's idea around like starting this from the BA point rather than actually keeping it to the end. Because majority of the implementations work with like BA and then consultants putting in things and then TLs and developers, and then it gets passed on to QAs. Throughout the cycle, what happens is people are more in the mindset of like saving costs at the QA end as well. And what actually ends up happening is that a lot of the time teams only test like the best case scenario, like, okay, this is how it should work, and that's it. Like they don't do the rigorous testing they should do. Like, okay, what if something goes wrong? Like, what if somebody clicks this? What is going to happen then? And so on and so forth. So rather than actually considering all the scenarios, what ends up happening is like just a checkbox to say like, okay, QA is done because we have tested like all the best case scenarios. What about if something goes wrong? Nobody worries about that. And then you do UAT and then things just breaks. Whereas if you actually start planning that from the get-go, it just transformed the entire thing. And I've seen like some project managers actually taking that initiatives. Some don't. So
Yeah.
I feel like because a lot of up until now, humans were the persons taking care of the entire process. Maybe moving forward, things will change in that arena as well. I don't know, but I feel like everything was on humans' onus. So if you have a strong project manager, you will see like a strong QA from the beginning. If you have a project manager who feels or believes that, okay, a developer needs the most amount of time, then you will have issues in UAT. So
Yeah, I love that. We were talking to somebody this week itself, and they mentioned something which is hilarious. They said, Robin, you wouldn't believe that even today, when Marketing Cloud is implemented, we see one of those hello first name bugs. I'm like, 2026 and the age of AI, and we still see that magical thing. Great. Okay, Abhinav and Care believe QA is getting left
Uh,
behind, or no, still in the
Yeah, I
front.
would just add one thing which I've seen is like in my implementations of projects, we try to read the customer, and at times they are oversold on Salesforce. They believe everything is so much of config and videos are so good. So it is very easy to get away with everything. So that is one thing. And then lately, what we have made decision is we try to put our reputation intact that it is our implementation. So we try to see if the customer is QA open, like as Piyusha also mentioned, product manager, whoever is the contact person of POC. If even they are not, we try to scope and budget QA internally so that we deliver what we wanted and in the proper quality shape. And at and I would say still 70% customers don't agree what we deal with, like, oh, why so much of QA budget and why is that needed? So it's better to put other way around in discovery and scope it and present it in a different way. It's not sounding right, but probably that's the right way to go about it from what I've seen.
Lovely. I love this. Maybe after this session, I'll catch up with you when somebody says, why so much budget for QA? Like, what the kind of answer this needs to be given to convince people? I don't know. I'm still learning those dark arts. But okay, on to Care. Care, what do you believe?
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna finish really with a slightly pessimistic note, I guess. So my experience is that QA is considered easy to cut. So we can't cut discovery because we might miss a key requirement. We can't cut development because we won't build what they want. But QA we can cut. And the amount of project managers I've heard say it can't take that long to test. And then when you ask, why don't you think it can take that long to test? It's either I don't want it to take that long to test, or I've no idea how long testing takes, but that seems like a lot of money. And I've also had customers say to me, why would we pay you to test it? You should just get it right in the first place. So that's always really nice. So I guess the slight pessimism I've got on the just bring it back to the AI front is that I don't see at the moment QA departments being given a very large budget to implement these AI tools that are going to solve all these testing problems with a $100,000 per head for tokens every couple of days. So I think those challenges will continue to come, and I think that's just an education thing. The argument I always used to have is, so we haven't got time to test it properly, but we will have time to do it again when we got it wrong. So how does that work?
I love that. I love that. And I saw, so this has been the most like heavy head bobbing movement I've seen in the whole session when QA budgets are being cut. I think all of us have seen some of those pieces. Very interesting. I think a lot of this goes back to the leadership. The project manager, the engineering leader, CIOs, CTOs, other executives, right? And we see this a whole lot, going around the industry. Even I think I said it sometime earlier in the sessions today, that we need to have the mindset shift, um, for the leadership, for better implementations. But let's go into the detail over there, and I'll park this question, and I'll start with Carmel. So what do you think? How do we bring along this mindset shift which everybody's talking about?
Well, I look at it from two different perspectives. I've worked both as a solo administrator as well as part of a team. And so when we're talking about small to medium sized businesses where there's really only maybe one administrator, maybe two, right? And they are either contracting things out or there's just one developer, however that's formed, whatever that team looks like. Really, I hate to say it, that it's usually on the administrator, depending on who their manager is, who could be I've had my manager be someone from the finance team, from sales ops, from IT. I have had a lot of different managers who are not Salesforce people, and it's really been my responsibility when I was a solo admin to make them understand, like, I'm not I'm not putting in all of these processes in place because it's fun or I'm trying not to do my job, and really getting them on board to say, I go through these 6 stages with UAT, right? That QA portion. We do not deploy without that. Um, like, these processes are in place so that I can continue to be effective and efficient, right? So that we are not getting angry end users who are saying, this isn't right. I don't like this. Like, I want to change this. You want me to be as efficient as possible? Great. This is the support that I need. And so it's usually up to that solo administrator or developer to really bring in their manager and help them understand and say, I need your support when people are complaining about timelines, deadlines. I need you to back me up and say, if that's what they're saying it's going to take, that is what it's going to take. Like, I'm working with them to prioritize this, but I respect that if they say they need another week, give them the other week. What are we losing by not doing that? Versus when you're on a larger team and you've got more people, usually there's already a dedicated C-suite member who understands these processes. And so they can better come in to set the expectation across the board for the entire organization and say, this team has an established process. Yes, you may escalate to me. I'm usually going to tell them, what did they say? Great. Then that's what we're going to do, right? Like, unless you can bring a better reason of why this project needs to be accelerated, whether there's some budget concern, some timing concern, like, if you can tell us how this is going to affect the budget, usually that C suite member is like, we will give that serious consideration. But otherwise, we really need C-suite, whoever's the leader of an IT team, to back up that team, that Salesforce team, and say, if they say it's going to take that amount of time, it's going to take that amount of time. And whether that's through change management processes, inviting them in to do monthly recaps, right? It's something that I've done before, of building kind of like a success team, and every department gets to come in, see what we're building, ask questions, make them part of the process so that other end users, other team members respect what the work is and why it takes as long as it does in order to deliver good products and good
I
features.
think that's a very insightful note, and what I've written, at least on my notebook here, is one, it's all about education and awareness, that you have to actually tell people. A lot of times, at least when I was slightly younger and earlier in my career, I would just get angry that why do these guys don't get it? Without realizing that the person on the other end of the table might not be from the Salesforce or engineering domain at all. So it is fine. Take a deep breath in, pull up that whiteboard, draw a diagram, show them the impact. The other is, we as a community, we stand together, have more and more of these conversations. It is really important for people to understand what is UAT, what is SIT, how to go about it. And very recently, we were discussing with some of the SI folks, integration folks, and implementation folks, and they said, Robin, Salesforce adoption is still a really large unsolved problem. Like, you go in, you go implement like a mega project, 6 months later, nobody's using it. Why? I'm like, I think I know the answer. Maybe they didn't do a good quality implementation. Maybe implementation doesn't match the sales team's expectations for whom it was implemented. It literally says Salesforce. Like, That's the whole idea. So I think that is a really strong thought, Carmel, there. What would Abhinav and Christina think about that? How do you go about educating, making the leadership aware, and then bringing in this mindset shift?
Comment, I think you can go first. Christina, sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that's a great question. 100%. It is about education. You need to get them to understand, but everybody is going to understand that in a different way. I honestly don't think there's one answer for that. You have to figure out, is it the CRO you're trying to convince? Is it the CEO? Is it the CTO? And they each have different ways that you're going to approach them. You know, the CRO, it's the ROI. The CTO, it is the technology aspect. The CEO, depending upon, you know, the person, it's potentially user experience. So while I 1,000% agree it is about the education, I actually don't have one answer on how to do it.
I love that. I think it's all about that persona whom you're talking to, and then modulating your message or modifying it to match that. Very well said. Very interesting. Abhinav has more thoughts on that note.
I mean, if we talk about leadership from the partner angle, then I would go with my own story, reputation. It's your reputation at stake. And if we go to end customer, I will probably pick up their most hard and critical use case and tell them, what if it goes wrong and what if it goes untested? So who and how and why and all that. So I will keep it short that way. Yeah.
Okay. I think, okay, I'll be very candid. I think our panel is going in a very set direction. I'll, disrupt the apple cart. Let's say one of these leadership at the customer side or on the other side says, hey, why can't we do this with AI? I heard about it. It's an awesome thing. Magical. My friendly buddy Robin was telling me that, at the evening drinks, this can change your life. Why not? How do you guys answer that? Let me take that question and hand it over to Piyusha and Care as hot potato.
I will actually start with something. So if you were at Dreamforce keynote, you probably would have seen the Agentforce Vibes demo as well, where they actually wrote a few prompts, built something, and deployed it. Now let's go back. In an actual real world scenario, do you think Salesforce is going to do something like that on a whim in their actual Salesforce org?
Yeah.
You can say yes if you feel they could do that, but I think all of us know the answer. Like, they're not going to do that. They can show however many fancy demos about these fancy AI agents lifting an entire mountain by themselves and no human help. They can do that maybe. But the honest answer, which I felt, is AI can do a lot of things. It can write user stories, generate test cases, build everything end to end. But it doesn't understand the business context. It doesn't understand what impact it's going to have on your customers. It doesn't understand any of the edge cases that actually matters to that implementation. It doesn't understand, like, if something is not properly done, the entire setup might fail, right? So in the AI era, if you're thinking that, okay, AI can do everything and I can probably do that as well, I believe, like, we can do a lot of things with AI, but having a very clear differentiation between what humans' accountability is or whose ownership is what is really, really important. Because with AI assisting us every step of the way, the processes are relatively faster, or maybe a tiny bit faster. So if you're catching bugs at the very end, it's not going to help. So yeah. I feel like now it's more of a mindset shift, as well as responsibility shift for everyone. So I believe developers needs to also think like testers. Testers needs to think like they're the implementation owners, like how everything is running. consultants needs to think about, like, or BAs need to think about, okay, what the edge cases might be at the very beginning, like Caramel suggested. And so instead of like having divided responsibilities as we have today, we probably need to have like shared responsibility for all these different things across the life cycle.
Got it. Makes sense, Piyush. I think expectation management is what I'm definitely taking away from your answer. But taking that and extending it to care if if somebody were to mention that AI is this magical thing and it can solve development and QA, how would you take that and maybe do the Mr. Miyagi on it?
Usually when this comes up, I reply with 2 words: governance and compliance. So I used to be the technical person for our ISO 27001, our Cyber Essentials audits. And one of the things I had to do there was explain how our software development lifecycle process defended our data, defended our systems, made sure that we didn't lack availability, we weren't exposing data. And I think that would have been a very short audit if I'd said, well, the QA writes the code, sorry, the AI writes the code, we've got a different AI that QAs the code, and then we deploy it to production. What could possibly go wrong? So I think it's fine. That kind of thing is fine for hobbies. And I think using it to speed up development and QA is also a good thing. But it's not handling the whole thing itself. You need someone overseeing it. We know it can make mistakes. We know it's not going to be infallible. So we still need that level of expertise. It's just that level of expertise isn't being used to write scripts and to execute tests. It's being used to look at the test and say, does this make sense? Is this a good test? Am I happy being at the accountability? Going back to Piyush's point, am I happy being accountable for these tests being signed off, allowing this code to go into production? That's the key thing. So you still human isn't just in the loop and overseeing things. They're also the one that kind of gets the beating if it all goes wrong. You can't just say, well, the AI should have picked that up. I don't know what happened there. Let's get on to OpenAI or Salesforce about that.
Interesting. I think that's a very interesting point, Karen. And I really love that point where you said that, do you really want to put your name on that output and do you really want to own it? Taking that about ownership, one question for Piyush and then we'll open it up for audience. So, Piyush, as AI starts writing these user stories and writes the code and then maybe tests it out as well, in that last process, then who owns quality?
I will say almost everyone owns the quality, because if only QA is owning the quality, then everything is going downhill, because quality control is not just a QA's job. If you look at the entire cycle, the first person, the BA, needs to set up how it looks like. The developer even does the unit testing. Developer also needs to make sure, like, okay, if something goes wrong, like everything, every step of the way, everyone needs to own the quality of the things they're working on. You cannot just keep it to the end, because we talked about it, I guess, multiple times so far throughout our conversation. Everything is happening faster now. If you're just keeping it till the end, it's not going to work. So I feel like the onus lies on everyone instead of just one person now.
Got it. I think this reminds me, what Piyusha said reminds me of the waterfall agile model. Like everybody says agile, still does waterfall every day and proud of it. But on that note, we'll end the questions from my side. We'll start picking a few questions from the audience. It's such a lovely panel, and there are some really good questions. Let me quickly read through a few of them. Okay, what does the future of test automation in Salesforce look like in the next 3 to 5 years? Wow, really tough question. Okay, can Carmel and Kier kick off with the answers?
Oh, that is a great question. If I were to say anything for what automated test automation looks like, it could be that we're using AI and teaching it the specific steps of how we want it to take, right? Like we're writing out our own test scripts, telling them exactly what buttons to press so that that can help automate that process faster. But I think it was best said earlier. I actually don't think that humans are ever going to come out of QA. So in terms of making that automated, that's actually a really good question. I don't know.
Okay. Kier has thoughts on that note.
So yeah, this is an area I've been giving some thought to. So one of the challenges that I've certainly encountered around test automation is how much, in quote marks, developer effort it takes. So we found a lot of the time that if you're doing very heavily customized screens, very heavily customized UI, it's quite hard for a QA to script that. You need someone who understands maybe XPath, who understands being able to drive a Selenium, something like that. So it didn't really scale very well. We kind of needed the QA department and a development team supporting them. And I think that's where I see AI in the next 3 to 5 years really helping with that, in that it can be more of a conversational creation of test cases, or possibly even just watching what you do, watching roughly what you do, and then creating test scripts from that. And also with the ability of being able, as part of that conversation, to guide about what is important and what isn't important, what you care about and what you don't care about. And I can see it getting a lot better at that. I think I'd also expect in most organizations for it to be underfunded as well, if I'm honest. I don't think we're going to suddenly see a huge amount of investment into this. So I think QA teams will still be, starved a little bit of investment going forward. So I don't think that's going to change in the short term.
Got it. I think I love all of those answers, but I really resonate with the fact that there will be more conversational QA, and then there will be more humans as part of those conversations. But yeah, we'll see. With the pace at which things are going, they are changing really fast. But again, that's why we are here as part of the community, to help us out, figure out the right answers. Okay, maybe the next question. Wow, this one is a good one. And I've heard this a couple of times in my career as well. What can you tell to solo admins when using their QA hats and don't have more people to rely on? Abhinav and Christina, can you folks help us on this one?
Make sure you do your negative
Yeah, go ahead,
testing.
Christina.
Sorry. Like it was said earlier, it's very easy to do the positive testing. It's very easy to go down your list of requirements. It's supposed to do XYZ. Does it do XYZ? Great. It's very hard to do that negative testing because some people's minds have a hard time wrapping their mind around that. And I think it is a skill that actually needs to be built. Some people are built for testing. Like, I'm sure you guys all know this. There are some QA testers that you love, but there's like 5 or 10% of you. There's like, I know they're going to find all the stuff that I don't want them to find. I love you, but please stop. So there are people that are built for it. And if you're not, it is a muscle that you have to build, and make sure you spend time building it.
Yeah, I would cover, Robin, both of the questions, previous and this one. I'm less of an into admin thing. I would say there is Gen UI coming, which is actually another level of complexity, which probably Salesforce will cover in coming days, and many other people are doing with AGUI, A2UI, and that actually adds the whole complexity beyond XPaths and everything. So we have to account for that. And then probably I would say everybody is using ChatGPT, Cloud in any format. And then if you pair it with now it's, I think, good time for even developers and QAs both, and even admins, to maybe have a shared pool of skills which can take up, and these skills can be not like human skills, agent skills, which can be checked in or shared with the whole cloud setup or whole ChatGPT setup, and they can replicate the whole boring process. Like you, I think, are from QA background, Robin, you can relate. Like we used to have a big Excel sheet. Okay, go to
Yeah.
this page, enter this form value, and then test if it is working fine. This is actually something which can be really automated well, and it can save time for both admins, QA developers, to not replicate those slow flows. Go very fast on that and focus on what really matters.
I think that's a great point, Abhinav. And I've seen Salesforce launch Gen UI, I think 2024, December, January 2025. For the audience here, what does it mean? What do you mean by Gen UI? I've heard about Gen AI. What is Gen UI? Okay. Abhinav,
Okay,
can
you
you
asking
understand?
me? Sorry,
Yeah,
I think I
exactly.
got into.
Yeah.
See, Gen UI is something. Let's say you are chatting with any LLM or anything. Now it can come back with, let's say we talk about aviation industry. You want to book flights, so it will show you the set of flights which are available. You want to get a seat reservation done, so that is also possible that that kind of UI will be rendered rather than it returns you a big set of tests. Okay, seat 1A, 1B, 1C, and you don't know where the hell that seat lies, and you just like make a guess. But it's now possible that you can show a very good and gorgeous UI within the chatbot or maybe on side of it, and that is a generative UI where you don't have the think fixed, but the LLM and the front end works together to present something more human and more easy to respond and interact with. Just not just for like viewing pleasure, but for responding and taking inputs back also.
Got it. So in summary, rather than just a chunk of text, maybe an LLM, a ChatGPT, a Claude, they will render the form on the fly because it thinks that you need to click on a seat on the flight layout so that you can book it then and there rather than just the text. I love that thought. I'll hope that comes before Dreamforce and we book tickets using that. Also, I loved Christina's point earlier around building the QA muscle. I think that is something I learned the hard way. That QA is a muscle. Like you're not born with it. Just like development is a muscle, you're not born with it. You have to really build it, and only then you should flex it. You should not like flex it when you don't have it. Okay, love that. Maybe the next question. Uh, wow, that's a tough one as well. How can teams balance traditional automation tools with AI-driven testing without completely replacing their existing frameworks? Maybe Care, Piyusha, Carmel.
Well, I mean, my view on this is at the moment you can't. I think everything's just changing too quickly to be able to pull in genuine AI-driven testing without changing everything and being prepared to change it again in the next few weeks, in the next month. I mean, literally every week there's a new model comes out, and oh, it's much better at this particular niche. So I think I wouldn't be trying to, I'd be leaving my traditional automation tools where they are, and I'd be using AI at the moment to generate test scripts to come, give it the outcomes you want, let it come up with the ideas and see how it's getting on with that, and kind of get control, get practiced at that. Eventually there'll be a winner, but there's just so much money flooding into AI startups at the moment that they can all go quite a long while continuing to release things that aren't going to win, and we're all kind of caught in the middle of that, is my current view, which is great. There's loads of new technology coming in, but it's also a bit of a nightmare to keep on top of it all.
Correct. I think I would agree to that. Okay, Carmel and Piyusha, have more thoughts on that?
I will say I have similar thoughts to what Kira has shared, that there's so much going on in the AI space. If you're saying that, okay, you want to add AI-driven testing to your traditional automation processes and like keep everything as is, I don't think that's going to happen. My recommendation would be, if you want to like add AI into your workflow, you can probably do that to maybe write your, like maybe enhance your test strategies. You can even help AI test it, but I would recommend keeping human in loop to validate all the AI generated outputs of the cases or tests which done. And also, even with AI, like they're not able to cover all the edge cases and risks. That's what I have experienced so far. And because humans tend to think very differently versus AI, because AI can only think about in a set direction. We talked about, lookalike audiences, and we can certainly give that kind of prompt to the AI to be able to do that, but still the level of edge cases, ideas which can come from a human might not be able to get those reproduced by an AI. So I will say I'm totally aligned with here. I won't actually trust AI to do 100% of the testing. I can maybe use it to do parts of it and then use human to do the major chunk.
Got it. Makes sense. I'll take that, add it to Carmel's question, and maybe ask one question from my side. I don't get time to chat. But how do you keep up with all these AI developments every day? Every day there's like a new bomb being thrown out there. So how do we do that? How do we stay sane in this insane world of AI?
I'm happy to answer that question. I stay sane by being a realist. I've always been a realist through and through. I do not have a pie in the sky, the optimism is not full here. And so bringing it back to just the idea of like, I only have today to solve this problem. Like I can plan so far in the future, but just keeping in mind, like, what are the most important things that I'm working on and doing a quick search to see if there's anything quick that will help me. If there is, I'll dive into it. But if there's not, I'll just keep a running, I don't want to say newsletter, right? Like I sign up for all the things, but and I'll look occasionally, but I keep focused on what I'm doing right now and looking for AI solutions when I need them. Otherwise, yes, it's very overwhelming and you could just dive into a spiral and keep reading and keep reading and keep reading and lose track of what you're working on. And so just reminding myself like I can only do what I can do today. I can only, include AI tools that can really solve my problems today is how I keep on the straight and narrow path.
Oh, I love that answer. Like very zen, very stoic. Thank you so much, Carmen. I'm not sure if we have more time for questions. I think we've run out of time over here. Okay, checking with our host. But while we get that answer, just adding on to Carmel's note, interestingly, I asked that to a founder friend, how do you keep up with AI? And they are like, dude, I've made this AI bot, which makes a summary of all the AI news. I'm like, stop talking. But okay, jokes aside, I all done. Thank you once again to the panel. So happy for the golden answers over here. Also, thank you so much for the audience. Love the community vibes. Vibe coding, vibe testing is a thing. What I loved about today is the vibe community. So thank you so much for being with us. We'll go off stage and we'll close it out. We'll post some action items. Let's keep learning together. Let's keep growing together. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, that was an amazing panel session with all our lovely judges and Robin being the moderator. I hope we got some real insights on how the AI is growing for the testing community and in general. Affecting our lives or enabling our lives, we have to make a decision. But I think that AI has become a part of our lives. We have to agree to it in a good way. And yeah, that's how the world is growing, I think, guys. So, with this, I would like to take our amazing Test Dreamin' event to a close. And I would like to thank all the judges, all the speakers, all the amazing audience members, and all the community people who have been live up so far. And I would also like to take a chance to put up our community channel link as well. It's a Slack community, guys. You can join us because this was our first virtual event, but we do plan to host a lot of in person events as well. So feel free to join the community. You will be updated on the space for what's coming in new and for all the testing community and the people out there. With this, also, I'll just pull up the banner. Okay, and once again, I will pull up the Test University link as well on stage, so you guys can join that. And this is the link if you guys want to register for the university. We have like some amazing gifts for our early session closers. So people who are successfully taking up the course live will win some goodies and some vouchers for sure. And then I'm going to show the Slack community up there for like some 10 seconds. And last but not the least, the winners for the event who have been active so far. I will just pull this up. I think we are okay. I will just put this off and then I will just put up the leaderboard. Okay. So we have top 3 winners. I hope you guys can see the rankings on screen. We have Pranav Patil, Rajesh Bellam, and Aditya Agarwal. Congratulations, guys. You've won some cool vouchers, some Amazon vouchers. We've been sharing you over mail as well. Feel free to tag us on socials and be a part of the community. We are trying to make a community for the QA people, for the testers, for quality folks out there. So yeah, with this, thank you so much for attending. Have a great day and evening ahead. Bye bye. Take care.